Hi, it's Alexis. I apologize ahead of time. It is almost 9 o'clock at night, and I look very tired and very crazy. But I have been watching Red Table Talks for the past probably 2 hours, which is not uncommon for me because I'm a big fan of Red Table Talks. I think they're inspirational. I love Jada. I relate to her on like a weird soul level. So I'm a big fan, and I was watching an episode tonight about infidelity and relationships in marriage, and something in me just thought that I needed to like say something because sometimes I get just in those like moods, or like my brain just starts like ticking and thinking of all these things that I feel like I need to say or get off of my chest. And one of the things was in the Red Table Talk, they were talking about cheating. So men, women cheating, either of the sort. And I just felt this deep sense to talk about a lot of times when you get cheated on, which I relate to because I have been multiple times, you get into this strange like blame mode, and it's really hard to move past that because you stay into that like mode of, well, it's your fault because you did this, so now I feel this way. And I just feel like it's really important to let younger women know, or anybody honestly, just to know that like it sucks to be cheated on, and those feelings that you feel are completely valid. You feel betrayed, you feel broken, and it makes sense because yes, but that other side, especially if you're wanting to make that relationship work afterwards, which is okay despite what society tells you. If you love someone and they cheat on you, it is not like the end of the world where you feel like you should never go back to them, because there's ways that people can hurt you worse than cheating and you stay with people. It's just a society-based thing that you don't stay after someone cheats. But especially if you're wanting to, it's very important to know that the way you choose, I don't want to say like choose to feel afterwards, but choose to react to the situation and where you put your feelings and your blame afterwards are very important. So when you get cheated on, it's awful, it's earth-shattering. Everything else before that seems like a lie, and you become very irrational and scared and fear-based, and it's just a normal emotional response. But it's very toxic as well to attack that other person for what they did, because a lot of times people don't sit and say, okay, well, can you sit and explain why you did that? And like sometimes you say, well, why would you do that? But you're not actually asking the question to seek an answer. You're just asking to ask because you think that's what you're supposed to do. But really, you should kind of seek to understand why, because it's probably not a dog on you. It's probably not because you are awful or you need to lose 10 pounds or anything of the sort, because that's not usually how it works. It's like a lot of times it's not like a premeditated thing. Like they're not just sitting one day like, oh, I can't wait to figure out how to cheat on my girlfriend or my wife or all of these things. And sometimes it's just a bad situation, or like something happens and it has nothing to do with you. And so attacking this person that you love and saying all these things and putting all this, and they should feel, yes, guilt, but more just like accountability is what they should feel, is accountability for their actions, feel responsible for what to do next, trying to make things better, but they don't necessarily need to feel guilt and shame. There is a famous author, Brené Brown. She writes books about shame and guilt. And shame, she said this, that shame has the same response in your brain as actual physical pain. So when you shame people and you put them in this emotional, awful trauma of saying, well, you did this, it's your fault, I'm depressed now, my life is ruined, you destroyed everything, you're putting this deep level of shame and guilt on them that it hurts. And so if you have been cheated on years ago and you try to make your relationship work now, but you're having problems, you should probably try to evaluate how you responded, because it's just as toxic the way that you respond as it is to being cheated on. So their actions, awful, yes, not discrediting that at all, but you responding in the way that you respond and degrading that person that you say that you love, which I 100% I have done, and I recognize how much that hurt that person that I was trying to love. But then also when I was trying to retrust them, one, I couldn't, but two, they couldn't do it either, because I broke them just as much as they broke me. And there's a lot of people that say that it was harder for, if they've been cheated on and cheated themselves, that it was harder to do the cheating than to be cheated on. Like, it was just as earth-shattering and devastating. So you have to recognize that, but also be able to understand that what you're saying is affecting that person. So if you get super sad and you're depressed, or in my case, I was super depressed about it and upset, and I would say, well, it's your fault. You should feel bad because you're the reason that I'm feeling this way. But really, I could have taken that situation and tried to cope different ways or respond different ways and try to really understand, okay, yeah, they did a really messed up thing, but this is the person that I'm supposed to love. And if I really want to love them and be with them, you have to respond in different ways to not attack them, because then you're just kind of as bad as they are. And so it's just this really fine line, and it's about taking accountability for your actions. And Will Smith said this, gosh, I don't know how long ago, but that you're not responsible for the things that happen to you, but you are responsible for the way that you respond. You are accountable for how you choose to respond to awful things that happen to you. So it takes it into a complete different perspective of, wow, that was a really crappy thing that happened to me, but I need to learn how to move on from that and take that situation and be a better person because of it. And it also feeds into that shame and guilt response that you have to try to not, it's difficult, but not saying that you're a bad person because it happened, because that's not why it was. Don't shame yourself and say, well, if I was prettier, it wouldn't have happened. Well, gorgeous models get cheated on all the time. Oh, if I was skinnier, it wouldn't have happened. No, because, like I said, amazing people get cheated on all the time. And so it's just this awful psychological cycle that we put ourselves in, and then it just turmoils from there and it gets completely worse. And so we have to take those awful moments and try to form new, better mindsets, perspectives, and ways of thinking from that, so that you can not only grow from it and heal from it for your own self, but also for that other person, and for everything else. It's a lot of baggage to bring to the table. Trust me, I'm bringing that baggage to the table. But you have to recognize it and say, okay, so this is what happened. This is how I felt. This is how I break what I felt, acknowledge what I felt, and keep going. But the main point of it was not to try to attack that other person, and try to take accountability for the way that we respond to things and how that can also lead to affect someone else, especially that other person.